My brother tried to transfer my inheritance into his wife's name. What I did at the attorney's office shocked them. The signature on the transfer request looked almost like mine. Almost. I sat in Attorney Samuel Whitlock's mahogany-paneled office, staring at the document that would sign away my father's estate. The curves of the E in Elena matched my handwriting. The loop in the R of Reyes was close enough to pass a casual glance. But I hadn't written it. My hands trembled as I turned the page. The beneficiary line made my stomach drop. Not Marcus is my brother. Tessa. His wife. Did you authorize this transfer? Whitlock asked, his gray eyes studying me over his reading glasses. No, I whispered. I never signed anything. The door opened behind me. I turned to see Marcus walking in, Tessa beside him. They were both smiling. Elena. Marcus said cheerfully. Good, you're already here. Let's get this paperwork finished so we can all move on. Tessa's smile didn't reach her eyes. She slid into the chair beside me, her perfume overwhelming in the small space. Her fingers drummed on the armrest, confident, almost possessive. Something was very wrong. Elena verbally approved this last week, Marcus said smoothly, settling into his chair. She's just being dramatic now. That's not true. My voice came out stronger than I felt. I never said that. Tessa remained silent, but her hand moved across the desk, fingers grazing the edge of the estate documents like she already owned them. The gesture made my skin crawl. Whitlock raised his hand. I'm halting this signing until we establish clarity. He opened another folder, his expression darkening. Mr. Reyes, there's another issue. Some assets have already been moved. The room went cold. What? I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. What do you mean moved? Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Tessa's smug expression faltered for just a second. Transferred out of the estate account 3 days ago, Whitlock said, sliding a bank statement toward me. $47,000. My father had been dead for only 2 weeks. How is that possible? I demanded. Whitlock's jaw tightened. Someone used an old power of attorney document. It shouldn't have worked, it became invalid the moment your father passed, but a junior clerk at the bank didn't catch it. I looked at Marcus. His face had gone pale. The transaction was flagged this morning, Whitlock continued. I contacted the bank immediately. They confirmed the documents were submitted by Marcus Reyes. I was handling estate business, Marcus said quickly. Someone had to take charge. Elena was too upset to deal with anything. You had no legal authority, Whitlock said coldly. The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. I felt dizzy, my mind racing. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't grief making him act rashly. This was calculated. There's more, Whitlock said quietly. An email trail. Sent from your account, Mr. Reyes, to the bank manager. Marcus's face drained of color. I can explain. I'd like to see those emails, I interrupted, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. Whitlock turned his computer screen toward me. Marcus tried to stand, but Tessa grabbed his arm, pulling him back down. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. The first email loaded. I began reading. With each line, my heart hammered harder. Marcus claims Elena is mentally unstable due to grief and that he must step in to protect family assets. My brother had called me mentally unstable. In writing. To a bank. The email went on. Marcus described me as emotionally compromised and unable to make sound financial decisions. He claimed I'd threatened to squander the inheritance on impulsive purchases. He painted himself as the responsible sibling stepping in to save the family legacy. Every word was a lie. This is character assassination, I said, my voice shaking with rage. Tessa finally spoke. We're just protecting the family image. You've been erratic, Elena. Everyone's noticed. Something inside me snapped. I stood up, shoving my chair back. You want a war? Fine. Let's have one. Marcus flinched. Tessa's expression hardened, but I saw calculation behind her eyes. She was already planning her next move. Whitlock cleared his throat. Before either of you escalate this further, there's something Elena needs to see. He pulled a small envelope from his desk drawer. Your father left instructions. There's a safe deposit box. Only you have access. What's in it? Marcus demanded. That's between Elena and her late father, Whitlock replied firmly. Tessa's hand tightened on Marcus's arm. We have a right. You have no rights here, I interrupted. Not anymore. I took the envelope containing the safe deposit box key. My father's handwriting on the front simply said, for Elena. The bank vault was cold and quiet. The manager led me to the private viewing room, the small safe deposit box feeling impossibly heavy in my hands. I waited until I was alone before opening it. Inside, a handwritten letter, old business ledgers, and a USB drive labeled Reyes Holdings, private in my father's neat script. My hands shook as I unfolded the letter. My dearest Elena. If you're reading this, I'm gone, and I suspect things have become complicated. Marcus is easily led. He always has been. Since he married Tessa, I've watched him change, become someone I barely recognize. The USB contains everything you need. Trust your instincts. Protect what's yours. And Elena, protect Marcus from himself if you can. Love always, Dad. Tears blurred my vision. Dad had known. He'd seen this coming. A sound made me look up. Through the viewing room's glass panel, I saw Tessa standing near the vault entrance, watching me. How did she know I was here? I quickly gathered everything back into the box, my heart pounding. Tessa was already walking toward the viewing room. I shoved the USB drive into my pocket just as she opened the door. Elena. Her voice dripped with false sweetness. I was worried when you left so suddenly. How did you know I was here? She smiled. I set up alerts on all estate-related activity. Joint accounts, safe deposits, everything. The bank notifies me whenever there's movement. My stomach turned. You have no legal right to that information. Marcus gave me access before your father died. I've been helping manage things. She moved closer. What did you find in there? Nothing that concerns you. Her expression shifted, the sweetness evaporating. Everything about this estate concerns me. If you think you can cut Marcus out, you're wrong. We'll fight this legally. Harassment, undue influence, whatever it takes. Harassment? I almost laughed. You forged my signature. Prove it, she said softly. I left without another word, clutching the safe deposit box. But my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold on to it. Outside, I sat in my car and tried to open the USB files on my laptop. The files were locked. Password protected. A password only I should know. I stared at the login screen, my mind racing through possibilities. Then it hit me, the nickname Dad used to call me as a child. One I hadn't heard in 20 years. I typed it carefully, Lenita. The files opened. Spreadsheets appeared on my screen. Financial records from my father's company, Reyes Holdings. I scrolled through months of transactions, my confusion growing into horror. Marcus had been moving money. Not recently, for almost 2 years. Small amounts at first, then larger transfers. 50,000 here. 30,000 there. All marked as operational expenses but with no supporting documentation. Then I found something worse. Transfers to an account ending in 7743. The account holder name made me gasp, Tessa Reyes. She'd been stealing from the family business while Dad was alive. I kept scrolling. More transfers, more falsified records. And signatures. Digital signatures on approval forms, my father's signature. But the metadata showed the files had been created on dates when Dad was hospitalized. Someone had forged digital signatures. But the technical trail was obvious to anyone who knew where to look. This changes everything, I whispered. I called Whitlock immediately. I need to see you now. And bring whoever handles criminal fraud cases. 2 days later, Marcus called a family meeting at our mother's house. I arrived to find Tessa's lawyer already seated in the living room, a sharp-faced woman named Victoria Cole. Mom sat in Dad's old chair, looking small and tired. Elena. Mom's voice was strained. Please, can we discuss this calmly? On the coffee table sat a document titled Family Asset Distribution Agreement. I didn't need to read it to know what it said. Marcus and Tessa have proposed a very fair solution, Victoria Cole began. To avoid expensive litigation and family conflict, they're suggesting you accept a one-time settlement. Marcus will assume management of Reyes Holdings and the estate. You'll receive $200,000 and be released from any future claims. I almost laughed. You're offering me $200,000 from a multimillion-dollar estate? Consider it a gift, Tessa said coldly. You contributed nothing to building the business. I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table, recording button already pressed. Say that again? Marcus leaned forward. Elena, be reasonable. I'm the son. I worked with Dad for 15 years. The business should go to me. That's how it works. That's how it works, Marcus? Inheritance based on gender? Based on contribution, he snapped. Mom tried to intervene. Elena, your father would want peace. Dad wanted his wishes honored, I interrupted. Which Marcus has been actively undermining. Tessa stood, her voice rising. You're being selfish. Marcus has given everything to that company. You ran off to your non-profit job and barely visited. Now you want to swoop in and take what Marcus built? I didn't build anything, Marcus muttered. Tessa shot him a warning look. He fell silent immediately. I stayed calm, letting them talk. My phone recorded everything. Victoria Cole outlined their generous offer again. Marcus complained about how hard he'd worked. Tessa mentioned financial pressures, her mother's medical bills, their mortgage. Then Tessa made a mistake. Besides, she said, glancing at Marcus, once the house is in my name, we're free. We can finally. Marcus grabbed her hand. Tessa. She stopped, but the damage was done. The house wasn't supposed to go to her. It was supposed to stay in the family estate until distributed according to the will. But Tessa had just revealed their real plan, transfer everything to her name, cutting Marcus out eventually too. I stood. I need some air. Outside, the evening was cool. I walked toward my car, ready to leave this disaster behind. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Elena, wait. Mom had followed me outside. Sweetheart, please listen. Mom's voice cracked. I know Marcus made mistakes. But he's still your brother. He forged my signature. He stole from Dad's company. He called me mentally unstable to a bank. I know, she whispered. I know all of it. I froze. You knew? Mom's eyes filled with tears. Marcus came to me 3 months ago. He was desperate. Tessa had convinced him you were planning to take everything. She showed him legal articles about estate challenges. She made him terrified. She grabbed my hands. But Elena, there's something else. Something I should have told you immediately. What? Your father changed his will the week before he died. He called me from the hospital and told me he'd updated everything. He said he was sending the new will to Whitlock. My heart stopped. But Whitlock has been working from the old will. He never mentioned an update. Because Marcus intercepted it, Mom said quietly. I saw him take an envelope from the mail addressed to Whitlock. He said he'd deliver it personally. But he never did. Where is it? I don't know. But Elena, she glanced back at the house. Your father wanted you to have control. He told me the new will made you the primary executor. Everything was supposed to go through you. The missing will changed everything. That night, I waited until 2 a.m. before driving back to the family house. Mom had given me her key. Marcus and Tessa were staying at their apartment across town, or so Mom said. I let myself in through the side door, moving quietly through the dark house. Dad's study was now Marcus's office. I'd been inside it countless times as a child, but tonight it felt like enemy territory. Using my phone's flashlight, I searched the desk drawers. Nothing. The filing cabinet held only business documents. I checked behind picture frames, under the desk mat, inside book spines. Then I saw it, a wooden box on the top shelf, partially hidden behind old law textbooks. I pulled it down carefully. Inside was an empty envelope addressed to Samuel Whitlock, Esq. The seal was torn. The postmark was dated the week before Dad died. The will had been here. Marcus had taken it. Looking for something? I spun around. Marcus stood in the doorway, his face half-shadowed. His hand reached for the light switch. Then he closed the door behind him. And I heard the lock click. Marcus, open the door. Not until we talk. He leaned against it, arms crossed. Without Tessa beside him, he looked smaller somehow. Tired. There's nothing to discuss. You stole Dad's updated will. I protected us, he said, voice rising. You don't understand what Tessa said would happen. She showed me articles about estate battles. Stories of families destroyed because the wrong person got control. She said you'd sell the business, take everything, leave me with nothing. And you believed her? She's my wife. He ran his hands through his hair, the gesture achingly familiar. It's what he used to do when we were kids and he'd broken something. She said if I didn't secure our future, she'd leave. She said she couldn't stay with a man who let his sister steal his inheritance. So you forged my signature? Stole from Dad's company? Tessa handled the finances. I just signed what she told me to sign. His voice cracked. I know I messed up, Elena. But I can't lose her. I can't. Looking at my brother, this man who'd let his wife manipulate him into fraud, I saw the scared kid he'd always been. The one who needed someone else to make decisions. First it was Dad. Now it was Tessa. Where's the updated will, Marcus? He looked at the floor. I can't tell you. Tessa said. Tessa is using you. She loves me. Then why does she want everything in her name? He flinched but said nothing. I managed to convince Marcus to unlock the door, promising not to call the police. He looked defeated as I left, and part of me felt sorry for him. But sympathy wouldn't recover what he'd stolen. I drove home, parked in my driveway, and sat in the dark car trying to figure out my next move. Then my phone buzzed. Don't go home. Meet me at the coffee shop on Maple. I have information. Mrs. Calderon. Mrs. Calderon had been our family's housekeeper for 30 years. She'd retired when Dad got sick, but she'd loved him like family. I trusted her completely. 20 minutes later, I sat across from her in an empty 24-hour diner. She slid a folded napkin across the table. Your father gave me something before he went to the hospital that last time. Made me promise to keep it safe. To give it to you if anything happened to him and if Marcus started acting strange. His words. What is it? The code to his personal safe. The one in the attic. Marcus doesn't know it exists. My heart raced. Can you take me there? Tonight. But we have to be careful. She glanced at the diner window. Tessa's been watching your mother's house. I've seen her car parked down the street at odd hours. We finished our coffee in silence, then drove separately to the family house. Mrs. Calderon had her own key. Dad had insisted she keep it even after retirement. The attic smelled like old wooden memories. Mrs. Calderon led me past stacks of boxes to the far corner, where a built-in cabinet blended into the wall. She pressed a hidden latch, and a small panel swung open, revealing a safe. The code is your birthday backwards, then his, she whispered. I entered the numbers with shaking fingers. The safe clicked open. Inside, a wooden box, exactly like the one I'd found in Marcus's office, but this one wasn't empty. The updated will sat on top. Dated 6 days before Dad died. Notarized and witnessed. I opened it, my hands trembling. The first page made my breath catch. I, Antonio Reyes, being of sound mind, do hereby revoke all previous wills. I skimmed through the legal language. Then I found it. I appoint my daughter, Elena Reyes, as sole executor and primary beneficiary of my estate. I grant her full authority over Reyes Holdings and all associated assets. To my son Marcus, I leave a trust fund of $200,000 annually, contingent on financial counseling and sobriety maintenance. There was more. A separate codicil granting me the power to modify Marcus's inheritance based on circumstances. Another document outlining Dad's concerns about Tessa's influence. And a note, in Dad's handwriting, trust what you feel, not what you're told. A floorboard creaked behind us. I spun around. Tessa stood at the top of the attic stairs. Give me those documents. Tessa's voice was low and dangerous. Mrs. Calderon stepped in front of me. You have no right to be here. Neither does she. This is still technically Marcus's family home. It's Elena's mother's home, Mrs. Calderon corrected. And I was invited. Tessa's eyes fixed on the wooden box in my hands. That will is invalid. The one on file is the legal document. This one is dated more recently, I said, finding my voice. Properly notarized. It supersedes everything else. Prove it. Tessa started walking toward us. Hand it over and we'll have experts verify it. Otherwise, you're just stealing family property. Stay back, Mrs. Calderon warned. But Tessa lunged forward, grabbing for the box. I stumbled backward, papers scattering. Mrs. Calderon pushed between us, surprisingly strong for her 72 years. Run, she shouted to me. I grabbed what I could, the will, the codicils, Dad's note, and bolted for the service stairs, an old narrow staircase we'd used as kids. Behind me, I heard Tessa cursing, Mrs. Calderon blocking her path. I burst out through the kitchen door and ran to my car, my heart hammering. I didn't stop until I was safely on the highway, heading toward Whitlock's office. It was 4 a.m. I called his emergency number from the road. I found it, I gasped when he answered. The updated will. And you need to see this immediately. By 9 a.m., I sat in Whitlock's office, the updated will spread across his desk. He'd called in his partner, a woman named Patricia Vance who specialized in estate fraud. They examined every page with meticulous care. Finally, Whitlock looked up, his face grave. Elena, this is airtight. Properly executed, clearly dated after the previous will, no signs of coercion or diminished capacity. Your father knew exactly what he was doing. What happens now? We file an emergency motion to freeze all estate transactions and submit this as the valid will. He paused. But understand, this doesn't just secure your inheritance. This exposes Marcus and Tessa to criminal fraud charges. The forged signatures, the unauthorized transfers, the bank fraud. The district attorney will likely get involved. I understand. Are you certain you want to proceed? I thought about Marcus's face last night, scared and desperate. Then I thought about Dad's note. Protect what's yours. Protect Marcus from himself. File it, I said. All of it. Patricia picked up her phone. I'm calling Judge Morrison's clerk now. We'll have an emergency hearing by this afternoon. 2 hours later, the emergency injunction was granted. All estate accounts frozen. All pending transactions halted. A formal notice sent to Marcus and Tessa informing them of the legal action and the discovery of the updated will. I imagined them receiving that notice. The panic. The rage. The scrambling for explanations. My phone started ringing almost immediately. I ignored 12 calls from Marcus before he showed up at my apartment. Through the door, I heard him pounding, shouting my name. Elena, open this door. You can't do this. I waited until he stopped for breath. Then I opened the door calmly, phone in hand, recording. Hello, Marcus. He looked wild, his hair disheveled, shirt untucked. Tessa stood behind him, her face pale with fury. You froze everything, he said. We can't access anything. The business accounts, the estate accounts, even the joint account I have with Mom. The court granted an injunction. This is insane. Tessa pushed past Marcus. You're destroying this family over money. Your father would be ashamed. My father left clear instructions. You intercepted them. You can't prove that, she snapped. I found the updated will. The real one. And I'm sure the court will be very interested in why Marcus had it hidden in his office. Marcus's face went white. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, looked at the screen, and I watched all the color drain from his face. What? Tessa grabbed his phone. Her expression shifted from anger to pure terror. No. No, this isn't. I already knew what the alert said. Whitlock had warned me. The bank had flagged the suspicious transactions. Not just flagged, frozen. Every account connected to Marcus, including his business accounts. You did this, Tessa whispered. No, I said calmly. You did this. You just didn't think anyone would notice. The next morning, I met with the bank manager, a patient man named Harold Chin. Wait, I couldn't use that name. Harold Foster. He spread the transaction records across the conference table, his expression apologetic. I want to start by saying the bank takes full responsibility for the oversight, he said. Our junior clerk should never have processed that power of attorney transfer. We've already begun internal disciplinary procedures. I appreciate that, I said. But I need to understand exactly what happened. He walked me through it. Marcus had come in 3 days after Dad's death, claiming the power of attorney was still valid. He'd told the clerk that Elena Amy was emotionally compromised and needed his help managing things. He'd seemed professional, concerned, convincing. But here's what concerns us most. Foster pulled up security footage on his laptop. This is from the day Marcus came in. The video showed Marcus at the counter. But it also showed him leaning close to the clerk, speaking urgently. At one point, he pulled out his phone and showed the clerk something on the screen. We had IT enhance this section. Foster clicked forward. He was showing the clerk an email supposedly from you, Elena. Asking him to help facilitate the transfer because you were too upset to come in. I never sent that email. We know. Our security team analyzed it. The email address was spoofed, made to look like yours but sent from a different server. And the metadata shows it was created that same morning, minutes before Marcus arrived. Premeditated fraud. Planned. Calculated. I'm providing all this evidence to your attorney and the district attorney's office, Foster continued. And Elena? I'm truly sorry we let this happen. 1 week later, Tessa filed a counterpetition. Her lawyer argued that I had manipulated Dad in his final days, that the updated will was created under duress, that Dad hadn't been mentally competent. Victoria Cole laid it all out in a press conference, painting me as a greedy daughter who'd swooped in during her father's weakness. But I had evidence she didn't know about. Evidence Whitlock and I had been carefully compiling. The USB drive didn't just show Marcus's unauthorized transfers. It showed Tessa's. A separate set of transactions I'd found buried in the files. For 18 months, Tessa had been transferring money from Marcus's business accounts he'd legitimately controlled, into a private account in her name only. Small amounts at first. Then larger ones. By the time Dad died, she'd moved over $300,000. Marcus didn't even know the account existed. She was preparing her exit strategy, Patricia Vance said when I showed her. Building a nest egg separate from your brother. The moment things got complicated, she'd have the means to leave him with nothing. Should we tell Marcus? Let the court tell him. The discovery process will bring it all out. She was right. Within days, Tessa's lawyer received the subpoena requesting all financial records. I imagined her panic as she realized what was coming. The secret account. The transfers. The proof that she'd been stealing from her own husband while manipulating him to steal from his father. The hearing was scheduled for the following Tuesday. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Judge Catherine Reynolds sat at the bench, reviewing documents with sharp, intelligent eyes. Marcus sat with Victoria Cole. Tessa sat beside him, her composure cracking at the edges. I sat with Whitlock and Patricia Vance. On the table in front of us, the updated will, the USB drive contents, the bank surveillance footage, the forged email analysis, and the evidence of Tessa's secret account. Let's proceed, Judge Reynolds said. Ms. Vance, please present your evidence. Patricia stood, her voice clear and calm. She walked the judge through everything. The timeline of Dad's illness. The updated will, properly executed and notarized. The interception by Marcus. The forged signature on the transfer request. The fraudulent power of attorney use. Then she pulled up the bank surveillance footage. The courtroom fell silent as we watched Marcus lean over the counter, showing the clerk his phone. The email Mr. Reyes showed the clerk was spoofed to appear from Ms. Elena Reyes. IT analysis confirms it was created the same morning, sent from a temporary server. Victoria Cole tried to object. Judge Reynolds waved her off. And finally, Patricia said, her voice hardening, we have evidence of systematic financial theft. She pulled up the USB files on the courtroom screen. Column after column of transfers. Highlighted in yellow, Marcus's unauthorized movements. Highlighted in red, Tessa's secret transfers. Marcus leaned forward, squinting at the screen. Then his face went slack with shock. He turned to Tessa. What is that? Tessa had gone deathly pale. Your Honor, Victoria Cole said quickly, my clients need a moment to confer. Denied, Judge Reynolds said. Ms. Vance, continue. Patricia detailed every transfer Tessa had made. The dates. The amounts. The account number. She showed the business records proving Marcus had never authorized these movements. Mrs. Tessa Reyes systematically stole over $300,000 from her husband's business accounts over an 18-month period, all while encouraging him to commit fraud against his own sister. Marcus stood up suddenly. I didn't know about this. I swear I didn't. Mr. Reyes, sit down, the judge ordered. But Marcus was staring at Tessa, his face a mixture of betrayal and horror. You told me Elena was trying to steal from us. You showed me articles, made me scared. You said we had to protect ourselves. Marcus, not now, Tessa grabbed his arm. He shook her off. You were stealing from me the whole time? While making me think Elena was the enemy? The court will take a 30-minute recess, Judge Reynolds announced, her gavel falling with a sharp crack. When we return, I'll hear from Mr. Reyes. Separately from his wife. In the hallway, Marcus found me standing by the window. Patricia moved to intervene, but I waved her off. Elena, Marcus said quietly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know about the money. I didn't know she was, his voice broke. Please. Don't destroy me. I know I don't deserve mercy, but I'm still your brother. I saw the little boy who used to follow me around, who'd cried when he broke my favorite toy, who'd needed someone to protect him from his own weakness. Tell the truth, I said. All of it. That's the only way through this. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. When court resumed, Marcus took the stand. Victoria Cole had withdrawn as his counsel. Evidently, once the secret account emerged, Tessa's interests had diverged from his. Marcus testified for an hour. He told everything. How Tessa had convinced him I was planning to cut him out. How she'd drafted the transfer documents and told him where to sign. How she'd coached him on what to say to the bank. How she'd written the email claiming I was mentally unstable. Did you know about your wife's separate account? Patricia asked. No. I didn't know she'd taken anything from my business. She handled the books. I trusted her. And the updated will? Where did you find it? Marcus's voice dropped to barely a whisper. In the mail. It came addressed to Mr. Whitlock. Tessa told me to intercept it. She said if Elena got control, we'd lose everything. She said the new will had to disappear. Where is it now? I hid it in my office. Elena found it in the attic where Dad kept his personal safe. I'd forgotten that safe existed until Mrs. Calderon mentioned it. Victoria Cole tried to salvage something for Tessa, arguing the transfers were marital assets, that she'd been protecting their financial interests. But the evidence was overwhelming. The secret account. The timing. The manipulation. Judge Reynolds called for another recess. This time, when we returned, Tessa sat alone. Marcus had moved to a different section of the courtroom, his head in his hands. I'm ready to rule, the judge announced. Having reviewed all evidence presented, Judge Reynolds began, I find the updated will dated 6 days before Antonio Reyes's death to be valid and properly executed. This will supersedes all previous versions. Marcus closed his eyes. I felt relief wash over me. I hereby grant Ms. Elena Reyes full administrative authority over the Reyes estate, including Reyes Holdings and all associated assets, as specified in the updated will. She continued, detailing the breakdown. I would receive the primary inheritance. I would have the authority to audit all past transactions and recover any misappropriated funds. I would serve as executor with complete discretion. As for Mr. Marcus Reyes, I find evidence of fraud, forgery, and unauthorized asset transfers. However, I also find evidence of manipulation by Mrs. Tessa Reyes, which while not excusing his actions, provides context. She turned to Tessa, her expression hardening. Mrs. Reyes, I'm referring your case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. The evidence of systematic theft and fraud is overwhelming. Tessa's face crumbled. She stood, started to speak, then simply walked out of the courtroom, her heels echoing in the sudden silence. Mr. Marcus Reyes, you will face probation, mandatory financial counseling, and restitution requirements. The exact terms will be determined in consultation with Ms. Elena Reyes, who has the discretion to modify your inheritance allocation. Marcus looked at me across the courtroom. I saw fear, shame, and something like hope in his eyes. The judge concluded, this court is adjourned. Outside, Mom waited on the courthouse steps. Come with me, Mom said softly, pressing an envelope into my hands. One more thing. We sat in her car while I opened it. Dad's handwriting again, this letter addressed to me, sealed. My dearest Elena. If you're reading this, you've found the updated will. You faced Marcus and Tessa. You fought for what's right. I'm proud of you. My greatest gift to you is not wealth, but truth. I'm giving you the power to use it with strength and compassion. Marcus will need both from you. The final codicil grants you the authority to determine Marcus's share. You can reduce it, eliminate it, or maintain it. The choice is yours. I trust you to do what's right. Not what's easy. Not what's emotional. What's right. Remember, family is complicated. Love them anyway. All my love, Dad. Attached was the final codicil, granting me complete discretion over Marcus's inheritance. I could give him everything Dad had allocated. Or nothing. Or anything in between. The weight of that.